All right, we're back, and today what we're going to tie is a golden stonefly imitation. We're using the 1560 Diachi hook. It's actually a wet fly hook, but I'm using it for this dry fly because it is quite a big fly, and it helps the fly to land correctly using the heavier gauge hook. So I got a light olive 6/0 thread here. I'm just going to put it on about the 1/3 mark here. So we're going to attach a post here about, like I said, about the 1/3 mark. We're going to use a lot of post material here. This is kind of 2 strands and then doubled over. I want lots of, I want a nice stable post here. So I'm going to attach a couple of pieces of hackle to this. So I want this to be nice and sturdy. So we're going to fold that over on our thread and then lock it down. So spend spend a fair amount of time on your post. The better you attach your post to your hook, the better it is when you go to put your hackle on. If you don't support it enough, the post kind of folds over as you're pulling the hackle on, um, which can be quite frustrating. So I've secured both sides now, and now I'm going to turn kind of my bobbin upside down, and I'm just going to wrap and wrap and wrap. So like I said, take your time here and get it on there nice and solid, especially at the bottom. It's going to make your life easier. That is a little bit faster. I don't actually work that quickly, as I'm sure you figured out. Lots of wraps. Get it fairly high up the post. Like I said, later on, this is going to make your life much easier. I have tried adding UV to the post just to make it really, really stiff. I found it I found it too stiff. So we're gonna do touching wraps to the back, just about to where the barb is on the hook, and I'm gonna start applying my dubbing. I really love the Hare's ice dub. You're probably sick of seeing me use it, but I'm using that Harder's Bloody Black for the egg sac here. Just a little bit, like I said, this is gonna be a pretty bulky fly, but you got to be really patient putting your hackle on. If you try to do it in one big chunk, it's not going to go well. So small amounts and just keep building it, small amounts at a time. So I'm gonna a few wraps here to get the egg sac on. And now for the rest of the body, some more Hare's ice dub. Got the golden brown. Like I said, I'm gonna end up putting this on fairly thick, but I'm trying to do it little bits at a time here. If you get the dog leg, that sometimes happens where it twists and comes off that thread, you've put too much on at one time. So you really gotta try to spread it out. Get every strand of dubbing to be twisted around that thread, if that makes sense. So like I said, a fairly bulky body to this fly. Throw some crystal flash under there, under the wing. I think about 4 pieces doubled over, so you have about 8 strands coming off the back. Next, we'll put on this wing material. Make sure to cut the end that you're attaching, cut it to a really nice point so the thread has something nice to grab on. So you just round the one end off and, like I said, down to a fairly nice point there. Something nice for the thread to grab onto. I kind of fold it down the middle to give it a little bit of shape. And this is going to extend a little ways past the back end of your fly. It's going to extend past the hook bend. And I'm going to add some deer hair to this as well. So we'll stack the deer hair nicely, measure out our length, how long we want that to be. And then I'm going to cut this really nice and straight so I can just grab all the ends in one go here. So I do a loose wrap, and then my second wrap, I pull down nice and tight. This deer hair I find on stonefly patterns, once it starts getting wet, it makes these flies look super buggy. I always find a stonefly pattern works better after it's been fished for a while, and works even better after you've caught a fish on it, because they just get beat up and they look like these big gigantic bugs on the water that the fish just, they want to eat it. You trim off the crystal flash. It's just a little bit longer than that wing material. It's just nice when that lays down on the water and it looks like the wings reflecting the sun. So I'm gonna throw some legs on here. We got the Barred Sexy floss, medium sized. Just using one here, I'm gonna double it over, so it'll give you four legs. Gonna attach it here just behind the post. And then we're gonna wrap around and attach the other side. So a few wraps and then manipulate the legs, get them where you want them. And then we're gonna cover them up with some more dubbing. Just the attachment points, obviously. We're not covering the entire legs with dubbing. So I'm trying to put the dubbing behind the legs here to help them stick out to the side before I wrap in front of them and cover up the attachment point. Just helps the legs to stick out a little splayed out. So like I said, I'm gonna add two hackle feathers here. I have just a grizzly, and then I'm gonna call this a furnace. The color I'm gonna call it. So I'm gonna attach them one at a time, obviously here in front of the post, and then I'm gonna attach them up the post as well. So I'm just gonna finish off the main part of the fly here. Just gonna add a little bit more dubbing, finish off the head of the fly. Adding a quick bit of UV for my whip finish. All right, so we've flipped my hook and my vise. Just I find this is easier for me when I'm doing parachutes. I'm gonna rewrap my thread on just like I would putting it on a normal hook. The deer hair does make this difficult, so I use an elastic band here. So as you can see, I threw an elastic band on the material clip and then just to hold the deer hair and everything out of the way. This is definitely not the easiest fly I've done wrapping it this way, but it does end up working. So this is where I was saying if you didn't have a really strong post, that post would just fold over as I'm trying to wrap the hackle. A few wraps of hackle, I'm going to tie this off as best I can, try not to capture that deer hair in there. Try not to capture the legs, just trying to capture the hackle fibers, or the hackle feathers in there. Again, the whip finish is a little bit tough with the deer hair there, but I'm going to do my best to not capture it in there and only capture the post. So that's it. I just trim those front legs to the correct length that I want. I can trim the post, and that's the golden stonefly that I like to fish. Nice little added bonus with this, guys, because of the wing material and the deer hair. He can really support a good solid nymph underneath them. So it's a great dry dropper fly. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.